Stand firm, stay grounded, and never forget, you don't need to be recognized by the world when you're already recognized by heaven and feared by hell. You were being watched long before you ever knew what spiritual warfare meant. Before you could even walk, something in the unseen realm had already taken notice of you, not because of what you said, not because of what you did, but because of what you carried. There are people in this world who go through life untouched, quiet, unnoticed, but chosen ones. The moment they enter this dimension, the spirit realm reacts. It's like a flare goes off in the darkness, and every dark power asks the same question: who just arrived? Because when a chosen one is born, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. Assignments are activated. Agents are dispatched. Because heaven has just released a divine force in the form of a human soul, and that terrifies the enemy, so they begin early. That's why many chosen ones go through hell in childhood, abuse, neglect, confusion, shame. They grow up in households where love is broken, communication is fractured, and truth is nowhere to be found. Not by accident, but by design. If they can wound you early, they can distort your identity. If they can break your trust, they can plant seeds of fear. If they can isolate you, they can convince you that you're unwanted. And if they can keep you distracted long enough, they hope you'll never wake up to the truth, that you were handpicked to be a light in a world drowning in shadow. But you did wake up. Maybe not all at once. Maybe it came in waves. The betrayal that shattered your illusions, the loss that shook your soul, the dark night of the soul where you cried, alone, wondering why nothing made sense. That moment when you realized the world is not what it seems, and neither are you. You started seeing through things, the masks people wear, the manipulation in their words, the lies behind the smile, the energy behind the silence, and suddenly, you weren't just reacting to the physical world anymore. You were discerning it. You felt the difference between someone's words and their spirit. You noticed when a room felt off. You picked up signals no one else noticed. That wasn't your imagination. That was your spiritual radar activating, because chosen ones are not ordinary people. They are divine instruments, equipped with spiritual tech that most never access. Discernment, intuition, sensitivity to energy, prophetic dreams, unexplainable insight, and a voice that carries weight even when you whisper. And guess what? The darkness saw it before you did. That's why your life has never been easy. You've been monitored, not by God, but by everything that opposes him. Demons don't just attack randomly. They study, they track patterns, they watch your tendencies, they listen to your prayers. Not because they're omniscient, but because they're threatened. See, there are some people who can blend in, who can live in denial, who can be surrounded by darkness and never feel the need to confront it. But you were born to disrupt it. Even when you try to shrink, you shine. Even when you doubt yourself, your very presence convicts the space. Even in silence, you're loud in the spirit realm. You've noticed it, haven't you? When you start getting serious about your spiritual path, strange things happen. You get attacked in your dreams. Old friends start pulling away. People you trusted start revealing their true colors. Sudden chaos erupts in your life, and you can't explain why. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual retaliation. Because the moment a chosen one awakens, the enemy panics. When you were asleep to your purpose, you were manageable, but now that you've opened your eyes, now that you've begun praying with intention, speaking with power, walking with clarity, you've become a weapon a walking disruption to every principality that's had. People bound for years, and that's why the surveillance increases. You're not just being watched by people, you're being watched by spirits. They study your rhythm, your choices, your weak points. They wait for cracks in your armor, emotional vulnerability, isolation, distraction, and when they spot an opening, they send in the assignment. Sometimes it comes as a person, other times a thought, a temptation, a memory, a situation engineered to pull you back into an old pattern, not because they're powerful, but because they're desperate, because they see what's happening. You're breaking generational cycles. You're becoming self-aware. You're exposing lies. You're speaking truth. You're praying for others when no one prayed for you. You're loving in a way that makes demons tremble. And that's not just dangerous, it's deadly to darkness. This is why your attacks are tailored, why some people target you with such precision, why relationships feel like they start beautifully, then crash without explanation, why you walk into a space and suddenly feel dizzy, anxious, or off-center, because there's activity happening in the unseen. But here's the truth that the enemy doesn't want you to remember. You are not helpless. You are not cursed. And you are not alone. For every demonic force watching you, there are twice as many angels assigned to guard you. You don't walk unprotected. You've been marked by heaven, covered by grace, surrounded by divine forces that war on your behalf. And when you speak, heaven listens. You were never meant to live in fear of the darkness, because you were designed to pierce through it. You're not just a chosen one by name, you are one by nature. And the more you realize this, the stronger you become, because awareness is power, and power is what the enemy fears most. So what do you do now that you know you're being watched? You sharpen your discernment, you guard your heart, you pray with strategy, you move in silence when needed, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You cut ties with what drains your spirit, you resist what distracts your soul, you surround yourself with light, with truth, with those who reflect the real, because you're not in a playground, you're in a battlefield, and every step you take toward healing, clarity, and alignment is a step that breaks the system the enemy built around. You so walk boldly. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to hide. You were never meant to be average. You were born to shift, a TMOSPHER, to disrupt false peace, to carry a presence that reminds the world, and every demon watching, that God still places his fire in human form. And you are one of them. You've been underestimated by people, by the systems of this world, even by yourself. But the enemy never made that mistake. From the moment you arrived on this earth, hell took note. Not because of how you looked or what family you were born into, but because of what you carried in your spirit, a divine authority, not loud, not flashy, but powerful. Silent thunder, fire that doesn't need to shout to burn. And that's exactly what the enemy fears. Because authority isn't about status or titles. It's not how many followers you have or what degrees are hanging on your wall. It's not even about how perfect your past looks. No. Spiritual authority comes from something much deeper. It comes from endurance, from walking through fire and not losing your faith, from being betrayed, lied on, crushed, and yet still choosing to stand, from the nights you wept in silence but still whispered, "God, I trust you." You see, chosen ones aren't powerful because they're perfect. They're powerful because they're surrendered. And that kind of heart, that kind of spirit, it carries weight in the unseen realm. You've probably seen it even if you didn't realize it. Ever notice how some people instantly respect you before you even speak? How others seem irritated by your mere presence? How certain people start acting strange, defensive, or jealous without reason? That's not you doing something wrong. That's your authority triggering spirits. Because when you carry divine authority, people don't just hear you, they feel you. Your words land deeper, your silence speaks. Volumes, your energy lingers in a room long after you leave. You're not just another person to most people you meet. You're either a mirror, a mystery, or a threat. Some are drawn to your light, others are disturbed by what it exposes in them, and some are terrified because their demons recognize what you carry. They know you're not bound by the same chains. They know you walk with a backing that can't be seen, but is very real. Let me be clear. This isn't about ego. This isn't about walking around thinking you're better than anyone. This is about being aware of who you are and what you were born into, because ignorance is the enemy's playground. If you don't know your authority, you won't use it. You'll shrink when you're supposed to speak. You'll tolerate things you should have cast out. You'll entertain what you were anointed to confront. But when you know your authority, everything changes. You no longer chase validation. You no longer beg for inclusion. You no longer explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You walk with quiet confidence. You pray with boldness. You forgive faster, not because it didn't hurt, but because you refuse to carry poison. In a vessel meant to heal others, you become dangerous not to people, but to principalities, because you understand this war is spiritual, and in a spiritual war, authority is everything. The reason you've been attacked so relentlessly isn't because you're weak kids, because you're loaded with wisdom, with revelation, with prophetic gifts, with discernment, with a voice that can break generational curses when it aligns with God's word. This is why relationships often crumble around you, why people either elevate you or try to bury you, because your presence disrupts the status quo. You don't even need to say a word. Your existence is a challenge to everything fake, bound, or deceptive. You've walked into rooms where no one knew your name, but the energy shifted. The air grew tense. Faces changed. Some smiled too wide, others couldn't look you in the eye, and you wondered, why? Why does your presence make people uneasy? Why do you attract attacks, jealousy, strange stares, even when you've done nothing? It's because they see it, they feel it. You carry something ancient, something divine, and even demons, especially demons, recognize you before you. Recognize yourself. This is the truth they never wanted you to hear. There's a reason you've always felt watched, even when you were alone. A reason why, from childhood, you sensed things others brushed off as imagination. The heaviness in certain rooms, the sudden cold in your spine when someone passed you, the way animals either stared at you in reverence or avoided you entirely. You were never paranoid. You were never too sensitive. You were simply born carrying something that marked you before the world could ever define you. The truth is, chosen ones aren't made. They are born with something that cannot be manufactured. Divine spiritual resonance. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not even always visible. But in the spirit realm, you shine like a pillar of light. And that light, it disrupts everything. Every low frequency, entity, every dark presence in disguise. Every person unknowingly carrying shadows. They can't help but feel exposed when you walk in. Not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. You've been carrying it your whole life, even when you didn't know. even when you were at your lowest, even when you were suicidal, broken, crying on the floor. That divine flame never left you. You were chosen before the foundation of this world, and they knew it. That's why the attacks started so young. Most people don't realize this. The spiritual attacks on chosen ones rarely begin in adulthood. They begin in childhood, when the chosen is most vulnerable, before they've discovered their voice, before they've understood their worth. That's why many chosen ones were abused, neglected, or isolated early on. Not because they deserved it, but because the enemy recognized them. Even when you were still in the womb, you were seen by the realm of darkness. That's why some of your parents resented you for no reason, why relatives treated you like an outsider, why teachers, classmates, even strangers tried to break your spirit. They couldn't articulate it, but your presence disturbed their demons. You were a walking contradiction to the darkness they'd made peace with, because light always exposes what's hidden. And here's the chilling truth. Even demons who have never met you can recognize you instantly. They don't need introductions. They don't need names. In the spirit realm, you are already known, not by your job title, not by your physical appearance, but by the divine assignment sealed into your soul. You are marked, set apart, surrounded by angelic protection, even in moments when you feel most alone. This is why some people hated you before they even got to know you. You've seen it, haven't you? You walk into a room and someone you've never spoken to seems triggered by your presence. You're kind, quiet, respectful, and yet they slander you, lie on your name, undermine your progress. You didn't do anything, but in the unseen realm, your light disrupted the darkness in them, and the demon within them moved first. But don't take it personally. Their flesh may speak, but it's the spirit inside that's reacting. That's what most chosen ones don't realize early enough. The battle has never been about the physical. It's spiritual. You've always been playing on a deeper battlefield, and because of that, you've always attracted more warfare than others. Where others coast through life, you've had to fight tooth and nail just to breathe. Where others are celebrated, you're questioned, rejected, ridiculed. But hear this, your struggle is not a curse. It's confirmation. Demons don't go after those they've already secured. They only target what threatens their agenda. If you weren't carrying something dangerous to darkness, they would have left you alone. But they saw it on you from the beginning. The authority, the discernment, the ability to shift atmospheres, to awaken others, to speak with a voice that cuts through illusions. And they feared what would happen if you ever figured out who you really are. That's why the distractions came, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the cycles of self-doubt, the spiritual fog, the addictions, the self-sabotage, because if they couldn't destroy you, they would try to delay you. But here's what they never expected. You kept rising. Every time they knocked you down, you got back up. Every storm was supposed to take you out, but instead, it refined you. Every betrayal was meant to harden your heart, but instead, it made you more discerning. Every failure was supposed to convince you to quit, but instead, it deepened your purpose. That's the mark of a chosen one. You're not just surviving, you're becoming unstoppable. And the more you awaken to your identity, the more spiritual authority you carry, the more aligned you are with your Creator, the more visible you become in both realms, light and dark. That's why the pressure has increased lately, why you felt spiritually heavier, why strange resistance surrounds you whenever you're on the verge of breakthrough. It's because they see you leveling up. Your light, is expanding, and it's blinding to the darkness that once moved freely around you, and now they can't get as close as they used to. Once, they could infiltrate your mind with lies. Now, you see through the illusion. Once, they could manipulate your emotions with ease. Now, you know how to guard your energy. Once, they could send people into your life to derail you. Now, you discern spirits before they speak. This is why your circle is smaller, why your peace is sacred, why silence has become your sanctuary. You're no longer walking aimlessly, you're walking in divine alignment. And as you step deeper into this, know this one thing: the more you understand what you carry, the more unstoppable you become. The demon that once mocked you now fears your voice. The shadow that once whispered lies now flees when you pray. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are chosen. Chosen to be a light in dark places. Chosen to speak what others are too afraid to say. Chosen to break generational chains. Chosen to walk alone, not because you're unworthy, but because your path is sacred, and every demon that ever attacked you, they were just trying to stop what you were born to become. But it's too late now. You know the truth. You carry power. You carry destiny. You carry divine authority, and they see it every time you walk into the room. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift without saying a single word? Have you ever noticed how some people grow nervous around you, stumble through their words, or suddenly become defensive, even when you're being nothing but kind? It's not your imagination, it's your spiritual frequency. You see, the average person lives disconnected from their spiritual nature. They operate on autopilot, driven by habit, emotion, ego, and survival. But chosen ones, they walk with spiritual awareness encoded into their very being. Even when they don't try to be different, they simply are. Even in silence, they carry a resonance that disturbs what's hidden in others. And that's where the friction begins. Most people are used to being able to wear masks, pretend, hide behind performance. But when a chosen one enters the room, their spirit senses everything. You don't need to interrogate people. You don't even have to know their backstory. Your soul just knows. You feel when someone is lying, even if they swear they're being honest. You feel when someone's smiling, but their energy is tense and heavy. You feel when someone likes you, but there's jealousy simmering underneath. It's not because you're suspicious. It's because you're spiritually awake. And when you're awake in a world full of sleepers, you're always going to feel like you don't belong. Because you don't. You were never meant to fit into the mold. You were meant to break it. You were sent here as a frequency disruptor, a walking contradiction to the low vibrational norms. And that's why people either gravitate toward you with deep reverence, or reject you with sudden resentment. It's never lukewarm. It's either full admiration or hidden hostility. Why? Because your energy forces people to confront themselves. And let's be real, most people don't want to. Most people would rather stay in the comfort of their illusions than face the truth. And when you show up, you trigger an unconscious mirror. You don't need to say, "I see you." Your presence alone says it. To the unhealed, you're a threat. To the deceptive, you're danger. To the spiritually dead, you're a divine reminder of what they've forgotten. This is why your light doesn't always make you loved. Sometimes it makes you hated, even by people you wish would love you. That friend who randomly turned on you. That family member who always undermines your growth. That co-worker who feels threatened by your quiet presence. It's not always about you. It's about what your spirit does to theirs. When someone's demons haven't been addressed, your frequency exposes them. When someone's been living out of alignment, your peace highlights their chaos. When someone's pretending to be someone they're not, your authenticity shakes their entire facade. So what do? They project. They call you too much, too intense, too quiet, too spiritual, too sensitive, too emotional. They try to shrink you because your presence reveals how small they've allowed themselves to become. But what they call too much is exactly what this world needs. Because your frequency doesn't just disrupt, it also heals. Let's talk about that. There are people who were drawn to you during their darkest moments. Strangers who opened up to you within minutes. Friends who confessed things they'd never told anyone else. People who said your energy made them feel safe, calm, seen. That's not a coincidence. That's the power of what you carry. You are more than a person. You are a vessel for spiritual restoration. But here's the catch. Healing always comes with resistance. Before light heals, it burns. Before truth frees, it shatters illusions. Before clarity arrives, confusion must be exposed. And that's what happens when chosen ones enter someone's life. You weren't brought into people's lives to entertain their ego. You were sent to awaken their soul. But not everyone wants to be awakened. Some would rather cling to their trauma, their victimhood, their false power. Because the moment you shine your light, the masks start cracking. And instead of embracing the healing you bring, they blame you for the discomfort they feel. Because it's easier to reject the messenger than receive the message. But don't dim yourself, just to make others comfortable in their darkness. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to pierce through, and that frequency you carry, it's not man-made. It was given to you by the divine. It's why no matter how many people misunderstand you, there's always a quiet strength in you. A compass that points north even when everything falls apart. You've been through trauma that should have destroyed you, but instead you carry wisdom, insight, discernment. You walk into situations and see beyond what's said. You feel the undercurrent, the spirit behind the smile, the truth behind the mask. You can't unsee anymore, and that's a gift, but also a burden, because when you carry a frequency that reveals, heals, and elevates, you also carry the weight of isolation, the weight of always being different, the weight of being the first to feel things shift, the first to break away from toxic environments, the first to walk away from false relationships, the first to stand up when everyone else stays quiet. But make no mistake, you're not alone, you're just ahead. You're leading spiritually while others are still catching up. You're sensing things others haven't learned to perceive. You're walking in alignment when others are still stuck in patterns. And that's why your path is narrower, lonelier, but far more sacred. The more in tune you become, the more careful you must be with your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your frequency. Not everyone can handle your presence. Some people are only drawn to your light because they want to consume it, not protect it. And the more you grow, the more you'll need to protect your spirit like royalty. Because that's what you are. You are heaven's secret weapon, hidden in plain sight. And your frequency, it's felt before, it's heard, it's known before, it's spoken, it's remembered before it's explained. That's why demons recognize you before people do. Because in the unseen realm, your identity is not up for debate. You are marked, sealed, covered, and even in your weakest moments, you still emit light. So keep shining even if it scares them. Keep walking even if it's lonely. Keep speaking even when it shakes the room. Because what you carry isn't meant to be contained. It's meant to be felt, known, recognized, and, yes, even feared by darkness. There are people who know your name, but have no idea who you really are. And then there are unseen spirits, entities, forces of darkness that know exactly who you are, even when you don't. They've known since the day you were born, because you were born with light in your blood. Even when you were a child, your presence stirred the atmosphere. You weren't like the others. You felt things deeply. You noticed what no one else noticed. You sensed energies long before you understood what they meant. And while other kids played without a care in the world, you sometimes sat alone, observing, feeling, listening to something greater, and it made you a target. Because chosen ones are always detected in the spirit realm before they're recognized in the physical. You think your battles were random. You think those betrayals, those breakdowns, those childhood traumas were just bad luck. No, they were attempts to break you before you knew your power, to wound you so deeply you'd forget who you are, to wear you down before you could rise. Because if you ever discovered the truth of what you carry, you'd become unstoppable. And the darkness knew that. Before you ever learned to pray, the darkness had already launched an assignment against your life because of your potential, because of your destiny, because of the divine fire inside you that can't be put out, no matter how many times life tried to extinguish it. Ever wondered why the attacks on your life felt so strategic? Why the people you loved the most were the ones who hurt you the deepest? Why you've been betrayed by those you would have died for? Why you've walked through depression, abandonment, isolation, and spiritual warfare that no one around you could even see? It's because the battle over your life was never about what you did. It was about who you are. You were born with spiritual authority, but before you could step into it, you had to survive the training ground, the wilderness, the breaking, the stripping of everything shallow and fake, the seasons where God hid you, not to punish you, but to protect you. Because if you stepped into your calling before your spirit was ready, the attacks would have killed you. The devil doesn't waste his time on people who have no power. He attacks those who are called. He attacks those who carry light. And that's why demons recognize you before humans do. Because in the spiritual realm, you walk marked with divine favor, marked with heavenly fire, marked with a kind of destiny that terrifies hell. Even if you doubt yourself in the physical, the spirit realm knows the truth. That's why the enemy sends distractions, temptations, false relationships, fake friends, delays. Confusion, insecurity, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous. You are handpicked by God to walk a path that most people can't handle, to carry an anointing that can't be copied. And that makes you a high-level threat to darkness. You don't need a platform to be powerful. Your authority was given to you in the secret place. Your anointing was formed in the crushing. Your clarity was sharpened in the silence. And even when no one sees your struggle, heaven does, and hell does too. That's why you've walked through so much opposition. Because when your soul enters a space, you don't even have to speak. Darkness feels it. Demons tremble. Hidden spirits panic. Because your presence forces the truth to surface. You've probably noticed it. You meet someone and they seem fine at first. But the moment you get close, they either cling to you like a lifeline or suddenly turn cold. They either begin confessing their secrets to you or accusing you for things you didn't do. That's not a coincidence. That's spiritual energy reacting to your light. Some people feel safe around you Others feel exposed. Some feel healed. Others feel convicted, because your spirit doesn't just walk into a room, it shifts the room. And if there's anything unclean hiding in that space, it will lash out at you or flee from you. This is why, as a chosen one, you must learn not to take things personally. The spiritual realm is always watching, and often you're dealing with more than just people. You're dealing with what's operating through people. That sudden hostility, that's a demon reacting to your presence. That jealousy from someone you barely know, that's an unhealed spirit lashing out before it can be seen. That friend who turned into an enemy after you started healing, that's a familiar spirit losing access to you. You see, chosen ones are covered in something sacred, and the enemy will always try to send counterfeits, relationships, jobs, opportunities that look good on the outside, but are secretly meant to drain your spirit, to lure you away from your purpose, to get you emotionally entangled in things that dilute your light. Because if he can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you. But you were built different. You've walked through too much to go back to sleep. You've seen too much to play small. You've heard the whisper of God in your quietest moments, and once you've heard it, you can never unhear it. You can't unfeel the call. You can't unknow the truth that you are here for a divine mission, that your light is not just a personality trait, it's a spiritual weapon, and the darkness knows it. That's why people come into your life and the truth starts coming out. That's why secrets are revealed around you, why masks start to fall off, why manipulation doesn't work on you, because your discernment is a radar and your presence is a mirror. Even in moments where you feel weak, the spirit realm still sees your fire. Even when you're questioning your worth, demons still recognize your authority. Even when you feel invisible in the world, heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. You don't walk alone. You walk with angels, with protection, with power. And the more you rise in your awareness of this, the more strategic you must become. Because not everyone around you is just a person. Some are carriers of light, and some are vessels for shadows. But you were born to see the difference, to walk boldly in love and truth, to tear down falsehoods with grace, to expose darkness by simply existing, and to remind the world and the spirit realm that God still places his power in the most unlikely people. So when you feel misunderstood, remember, it's not always you they hate. It's what you carry, what you represent, what your light does to their shadows. You walk into a room and spirits take notice. You speak truth and chains begin to loosen. You pray with intention and regions begin to shift. But here's the part most chosen ones miss. You were born with this authority, but you still have to grow into it. It's not about just knowing it's there. It's about walking in it. You walk in it when you choose obedience over comfort. You walk in it when you say no to what your flesh wants, and yes to what your spirit needs. You walk in it when you pray even when you're exhausted, speak up when it's risky, and love when it would be easier to hate. Every step of obedience strengthens your mantle. Every battle you survive adds weight to your words. Every tear sown in secret becomes oil that anoints you in public. You weren't meant to walk timid. You weren't designed to second guess your worth. You weren't created to be a passive bystander in your own story. You were chosen to move with purpose, to walk into darkness and ignite light, to lay hands and see healing, to speak and see hearts shift, to carry a presence so potent that people feel it even when you're silent. And yes, that comes with a cost. There will be isolation. There will be misunderstanding. There will be days when the burden feels too heavy, but there will also be fruit, lives changed, minds renewed, chains broken not just for you, but for those connected. To you, you were chosen not just to survive darkness, but to disrupt it, to walk into rooms infected with bitterness, and shift the atmosphere with peace, to carry joy where there has been mourning, to speak life where there's been death. But you can't do that if you keep seeing yourself through the lens of your past. Let this be your reminder. You are not what they called you. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the rejection you endured. You are a vessel of authority, a carrier of glory, a threat to hell, even on your worst days, because your authority isn't based on perfection. It's based on your position and your position, seated with Christ in heavenly places. Yeah, that's scripture. Look it up, Ephesians 2:6. So don't shrink. Don't apologize for your anointing. Don't dull your shine to make others comfortable. Let your light speak. Let your posture proclaim, I know who I am. Because when a chosen one owns their authority, heaven moves through them, hell flees before them, and the world is never the same. Let's stop pretending you're ordinary. Let's stop pretending this is just coincidence, that the betrayals, the isolation, the repeated spiritual attacks, the strange tension you feel around certain people, the dreams you can't explain, the inner knowing you carry are just bad luck or overthinking. It's not paranoia, it's not ego, it's spiritual reality. Heaven marked you, hell noticed, and the world has been reacting to that. Ever since, you see, chosen ones don't just walk through life, they shift it. They don't blend in because they weren't designed to. They were marked in the spirit before they ever took their first breath. There's a signature on your soul, a divine fingerprint, an echo of eternity that resonates from your presence. You may not see it, but spirits do. Environments feel it. People sense it, even if they don't know what it is. And here's the kicker. Because you were marked, you became a target, but not in the way you think. The devil doesn't fight who's already his. He doesn't waste resources on the spiritually asleep. He comes after the dangerous ones, the awakeners, the light dash, BRINGERS, the ones who carry keys to unlock others, the ones who, if they ever figure out who they really are, will leave a trail of healed, delivered, and restored people in their wake. That's you. The attacks on your life haven't been random. They've been strategic to wear you down, to make you doubt your calling, to keep you entangled in cycles, distracted by relationships, or shackled by shame. Why? Because if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to make you destroy yourself. He'll whisper that you're too broken, too late, too unworthy, too misunderstood. He'll try to use your own heart against you, turning wounds into weapons. But here's the truth. You were marked before the trauma. You were called before the betrayal. You were chosen despite the failures. You are still the one, and the moment you begin to rise in that awareness, the darkness around you starts to shake, because you stop living reactive and start living intentional. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what am I being prepared for? You stop seeing rejection as loss and start seeing it as divine redirection. You stop begging to fit in and begin owning the fact that you were never meant to. You see, chosen ones live by a different rhythm. It's not the world's rhythm of popularity or applause. It's heaven's rhythm of purpose. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to shake something loose, to expose what's fake, to heal what's broken, to speak what others are afraid to say, to walk into darkness and not be consumed by it. And when you finally begin to embrace that, truly embrace it, you become unstoppable. You stop explaining yourself to those who aren't assigned to understand you. You stop shrinking to avoid jealousy. You stop trading your birthright for comfort, and you start walking in dominion. Yes, you'll still be attacked. Yes, people will still misunderstand you. Yes, demons will still recognize you. But the difference is you'll know why, and you won't back down, because now you move with revelation. You realize that the warfare was confirmation, not condemnation. You realize that isolation wasn't punishment, it was preservation. God needed to get you alone, away from the noise, to whisper secrets to you, to rebuild your confidence, to show you what you carry, and what you carry isn't light, it's heavy, it's sacred, it's generational. You're not just carrying a calling, you're carrying the redemption of a bloodline, the end of cycles, the breaking of chains, the restoration of what was stolen. That's why you feel what others don't. That's why your discernment is sharp. That's why people come to you with their pain. That's why hell sent people to break your heart. It was all an attempt to keep you distracted, fragmented, too wounded to walk in power. But they didn't realize one thing: you're still here. After everything, every loss, betrayal, lie, mistake, you're still standing. And now, you see the patterns, you see the assignments, you see who's for you and who never was. You see the calling, you see the cost, and even more importantly, you're willing to carry it because now you understand your life is not your own. You've been set apart, you've been chosen, not for ease, but for purpose. And yes, that means you'll walk alone at times. But alone doesn't mean abandoned. Alone doesn't mean unloved. Alone doesn't mean forgotten. It means trusted. Because heaven doesn't hand out assignments this heavy to just anyone. It chose you, and that's why hell reacts the way it does. It's not about who you were, it's not about who they think you are. It's about who you're becoming. You are becoming a walking portal of breakthrough. You are becoming a lighthouse for the lost. You are becoming a holy disruption to everything dark and deceptive. So don't fear the warfare. Let it remind you of what you carry. Don't curse the loneliness. Let it refine you. Don't regret the losses. Let them clear your path. You weren't sent to earth to live small, scared, or silent. You were sent to shake foundations, to make the enemy nervous when your feet hit the floor, to leave imprints of heaven everywhere you go. And yes, that will come with resistance, but it also comes with backing. You are not alone. Heaven is behind you. Angels are assigned to you, and the one who marked you walks with you always. So lift your head, straighten your crown. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are chosen. And that's why demons recognize you. Because even in your weakest moments, when you doubt yourself, they still see the light, and it terrifies them. You weren't just called, you were chosen. That weight you carry, it's sacred. That pain you felt, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The isolation, the losses, the spiritual warfare, it was all because of what you carry and what you're destined to become. Don't hide anymore. Don't shrink. Walk like you know who you are. If this message found you at the right moment, it's because it was meant for you. Subscribe, because this is just the beginning, and trust me, the next Message will find you when you need it most. Stay strong, chosen one. The world has no idea what's coming, but the heavens already do.